Alright, time for another draftphysics.com. Debate physics also, but we can't arrange any debates. Can't find anyone willing to defend, uh, in a nice kind of orderly courtroom kind of display of evidence and argument, the conventional theory, okay, and explain how it is a better answer than what I would argue is the much simpler mechanical particle, no MV squares solution to understanding the universe is just being the interaction between stuff called force, moving the speed of light, and stuff called matter that has to be pushed by the force. And if it's not being pushed, it's not moving. Yeah. And it's really a particle theory can explain everything. Gravity, the two slit experiment, all of it. And you don't need superposition. You don't need to believe things can be in two places at once. You don't need to believe that the universe doesn't have real positions in it. You don't need to believe in this will we pop into existence, pop out of existence nonsense. It's a mechanical universe. It's got mechanical bits in it doing mechanical things, very limited amount of very few properties. This is a lot like, I saw a couple of Wolfram videos. I've been allowing the, I've been playing my video, and then because I have to play it in a private window, anyway, it auto plays somebody else's video, and so I've been listening to other crap that I haven't been doing lately, just because of how YouTube blocked the functionality of the website to stop me from commenting, stop me from soliciting a debate. And well, anyway, and so I saw, some Al-Kahari stuff I saw before, some other guy talking about atoms and light, and it's all so wrong. It's so wooey. Sean Carroll, who admits the whole thing doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, he just flatly admits there's contradictions all over the place. The whole thing, there's no, the theories are sloppy and messy. Uh, I mean, and yeah, if you talk about the elemental part, you'd get even more sloppy and messy, where you haven't even proven. You have a stupid axiom that dropping 1 pound 4 feet is the same as dropping 4 pounds 1 foot. It's a silly non-truth, and easily tested, and you've never tested it. NASA, nobody can do this gigantic experiment. A ballistic pendulum loses 99.9% of its kinetic energy, and you've never bothered to put a thermometer in the ballistic pendulum and see if the energy's there? Or, at least to demonstrate that there's some possibility it's there? you know. I mean, obviously the math makes it have to go away. The math annihilates it, so there's no physical reason it should be gone, except the math demands that it has to be. The math basically says there's no way to engineer the experiment where you can conserve the energy of the bullet. You can't conserve it. It has to be dissipated in some other in some other way. It's saying it's impossible to recover it, frankly. You can't recover it as anything called momentum. So if you understand heat to be a kind of momentum, your friction is, vibrating other little atoms is really just transferring momentum. If you think heat is momentum, you know that, oh yeah, you're in big trouble, but you can't say it's heat because that would be more momentum, and you conserve the momentum, so you can't make more momentum. I mean, I would think people could agree with that. I mean, I can't imagine that these people actually believe that, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can make free momentum. Oh, spooky, scary world. Where is this? Isn't these windows aren't proper? This is the wrong stuff here. Okay, so I gotta go find the comments. I guess I'll just do comments. Um, and I think I'll just start a new series that I'll go with this idea of physics dope. That you're just pushers. You're pushing really bad stuff, poison, really. And it's really bad that you're doing that, and you're doing it for no good reasons. because you really don't have credible evidence. You certainly don't have enough evidence, and it's just bullshit that you do this crap. Alright, so let's see. There's a couple of Puro comments here. Alright, your argument about energy. Okay, we did that one. Alright, so he says, when Lewin says momentum is conserved, he, one, is including the canceling math. Yeah, of course he is. But there's still the argument where he's clearly saying that, yeah, kinetic energy just goes away all over the place. The ballistic pendulum. There's all kinds of things where, yeah, gee, it's really weird. And he's basically emphasizing the point, though, that this elemental thing, momentum, does have to be conserved. Now, yeah, I mean, he's obviously wrong, and he obviously leaves it as a question, and, you know, he points out that, well, here's another ludicrous thing. You're going to stay up all night, and he doesn't explain it. You know, I hit the brick wall, okay, with something with momentum, and somehow I put twice as much energy, momentum, into the wall, and I get all of my momentum back in the opposite direction. You know. So, again, well, whatever. Only in an elastic collision, which is something ideal, never happens. Well, all collisions, all things are the same thing. So there is no elastic and inelastic. We know that the difference is just the fact that something crushes. So the energy is used up crushing something. And so it always has to be somewhere. So it's either vibrating really fast, and you could burn a piece of paper with it because it's so hot. Or it crushes, it moves, the pieces change positions, momentum, and that dissipates eventually as heat, or they reflect. But that's it. It has to, just like the energy we're interacting with. It either reflects off of us or we absorb it and it stays inside of us. But it can't do something else. There's no other option. It's either absorbed or reflected. And the same is true for all momentum, all interactions. And that's my argument, is that there's no evidence. You don't have a single shred of evidence, credible evidence, that isn't absolutely true. And instead you just talk shit. Again, you never cite anything called evidence. All right, friction robs an object of momentum. So again, it doesn't rob it. It takes it. It's an exchange. Clearly. And that's clearly what I pointed out in the video, is that the momentum goes somewhere. It doesn't disappear. And when it's in the form of friction, now it's heat. And now it's going to dissipate as heat until some other kind of mechanism takes that heat, even like a biological organism, and converts it back into motion with a physical big thing. Turns it into heat or stored energy. So again, stored as what? Stored as a spinning wheel. Stored as a vibration. Stored as something that still has the motion in it. It still has the pressure. You can never destroy the pressure, the momentum. So again, this goes back to, you know, this is so elemental and so simple that you really shouldn't be so fucking dishonest and stupid that you won't concede simple points. But I mean, we weigh things in gravity, and you know it's a consistent force. You know it's constant and reliable and dependable and all that crap. And you weigh things, okay? You take their weight. Well, what are you weighing? What do you think the scale is reading? Okay, when you put a 1 kilogram on here, it has to be measuring some kind of momentum, some sort of motion, because guess what? I could just turn the damn thing this way, and you know that's momentum. You know when the scale moves because the object hits it, and the scale goes to a position that it's measuring pressure. And you know that, yeah, there's instantaneous pressure, that is, the object has it and then it can lose it, like you push something and it moves until it gives away its energy, and it would give it away to the scale, create compression, and the scale would give it back again. And you know you can do that in gravity. You can drop something from a height, okay, onto the scale, and then it'll bounce back. So what's the confusion here? Weight, pressure, momentum. They're all the same thing. There's no distinction between weight and momentum. Come on. It's just so silly. All right. Which is different from momentum. So he says heat is different than momentum. So I would argue kind of aggressively that that's really dumb. All right. I mean, frankly, I'm just saying it's really stupid because we know exactly what heat is, and it's the motion, okay, of atoms. That's how you detect temperature, is to detect how much the atoms are jiggling. So it's clearly motion, and it's clearly masses moving, and we clearly can measure it that way. We can actually see this exact proportionality that twice as much water requires twice as much energy to reach the same temperature. So it's exactly proportional. It works exactly like momentum. So again, you say so. So you just say this shit. You don't have any theory, you don't have any argument, you don't have any drawing, you don't have any explanation to say anything like this, that somehow heat is not momentum. And I could argue that if one understands magnetism, that we'd understand that, yes, the magnetic force is a consistent, reliable force, and what you're storing is momentum. You're pushing a scale, you're pushing a spring, just like gravity does. And you're storing momentum. You're storing the capacity to push back, to move something. And that's how energy is stored in objects. All right. And that's Lewin's position, and you know it. So again, no, what I know is that these physical experiments have never been done. That's what I know. That they claim something that I can demonstrate to be stupid. Okay? They claim that, I add 5 pounds, I have something moving 5 velocity, 10 velocity, I double its mass, and now it's a double mass moving at half the velocity. And what I know is all the momentum is conserved, and so it would be idiotic to say a piece flew off, because no, we couldn't conserve all the momentum then. That's a piece of momentum leaving. I can't say I conserved all the momentum then. I know I can't make a whole bunch of sound. I can't make a whole bunch of anything. I can't make a whole bunch of stuff moving, any amount of energy worth, if I conserve 100%. So if I have all my momentum, I can't make up some nonsense about how, well, it all turned into heat or something. Because as I just pointed out, heat is momentum. The heat that goes into the ground, when I hit the ground, when I'm rubbing against the ground, creating friction, I'm moving stuff. That's why I'm losing my momentum. They're just like little bowling pins, and I'm like the bowling ball, and I'm losing my momentum by moving them. You're the one who knows better. You know that's true. You know it doesn't take 25 times the fuel to spin anything on this planet 5 times as fast. You know that's not true. You liar. You sack of shit liar. You know it's not true. You've driven a car. You know it's not goddamn true. And your theory demands that it be true. Your theory says it must be true. And you know you don't have a shred of evidence demonstrating it. And you have this counter evidence, which is the simple balance that proves the point. The simple balance tells you what's equal to each other. And what it says to you obviously, and quite obviously, is no, 1 mass, 5 velocity, same thing as a 5 mass, 1 velocity. Because everything's equal. And the only thing you're changing is this little bit of mass you're putting on one side of the lever to the other side. That's the only thing you're ever changing. Because the 5 mass moving, the 1 mass moving 5 velocity is escaping gravity, right? Let's say this side goes down. This side's escaping gravity. That is, the raindrops aren't hitting it because it's moving away from the rain at exactly the same rate as the 5 mass moving the slow velocity. Same exact stuff is happening. This one's missing exactly the same amount of gravity that this one's plowing into. This one hits more raindrops at a very slow speed. It moves into more rain. This one moves away at a very high speed. And they have the same sail size, technically. The small scale in the big wind, the big sail in the small wind. Same exact thing. Proving they're the same energy. You don't have a counter argument to that experiment. You have nothing. You have nothing to offer except your preaching, your Ayatollah Nonsense. You read from your Quran says so. That's all you have as an argument is crap. All right, so Gibbon says, momentum is conserved in all collisions, not just elastic. Yes, exactly. Momentum always gets the right answer. Understanding momentum will land you on the moon. Using the kinetic energy formula will crash you on the moon. So go ahead and see. So let's put a fund together. Could we all agree that that would be a really great thing to prove one way or the other? Is to have somebody do the math for moving a lunar module, okay, navigating it to the surface of the Earth, the moon, and the thrust, and see which equation lands successfully. Now, wouldn't that be a really great thing to have done? Just to prove this one way or the other forever and be done with this crap. So why don't we all chip in, okay, to pay a physicist to do the math, all right, and show us. Because the two theories have a different answer. The two theories say the thrust, a certain amount of thrust, I thrust out of a ship. The two theories say it's a different amount of energy. Okay. Jesus, you people are so fucking dishonest. Anyway, technically correct, fine. The Earth has absorbed the momentum. So again, the Earth can't absorb it forever either. All right. So yes, the heat that goes into the Earth, the heat comes back out of the Earth. Okay. It maintains some equilibrium, but to maintain the movement, it's always in deficit. Okay, but the open system, the energy has left the system. So again, and that doesn't happen. So if you do the experiment in space, nothing, you can always account for it. It's always going somewhere. There's always something moving. You never destroy momentum. And again, 350 years ago, even Leibniz had some glimmer of that being true. Okay, that the universe is in motion. And as Descartes said, and it doesn't need recharging. You just follow the motion. When one thing stops moving, something else started moving. And you can't even understand that. 350 years later, you're struggling to get something so simple. The conservation of motion in the universe. All right, and then this moron, I guess says, okay, wait. Oh, okay. Says to Piro, it's not technical versus non-technical. Inelastic collisions still conserve momentum. It has nothing to do with friction. All the experiments have something to do with these variables that have to be accounted for. So we all should understand that unfortunately we don't have an ideal lever. The fact that we can imagine one, though, and that we can imagine that if we could just get rid of these stupid nuisance defects that steal the energy from our experiment, the fact is that I could make the bullet out of the recoil of the gun, that I could put the recoil of the gun on one side of the lever and I could make the speeding bullet on the other side of the lever, demonstrating that they have the same energy, that one of them doesn't have 1,000 times more capacity to move things in the universe. It doesn't. All it has the capacity to do is make things happen quickly. And a lot of things don't like quick. A piece of glass, for example, it can do this all day long. It doesn't mind slowly being whacked. But I hit it with something moving a little bit too fast. And its crystalline structure can't deal with it. And it cracks, it breaks, it fractures. Yes, fast things can break things better. But it doesn't mean it has more energy. All right. Piro, please don't make this more confusing than it is already. And again, it really shouldn't be that confusing. It's just that there are details. Like I said, we can't just say, here's a lever. I'm going to put energy in this side. I'm going to have energy pop out this side. So I'm going to put a 2 mass. I'm going to drop a 2 mass here. And then I'm going to expect the 1 mass to go twice as fast here. Well, I have to account for the fact that the lever weighs something. So I can't get all the energy that hits here out here because this motion isn't going to stop. It wants to keep going too. So I'm going to lose some of the energy in this mechanism. So I always have to. So we figured out in these experiments that you have to try to make this thing as light as possible, and the weights as heavy as possible, and then you got to worry about things bending, and then you got to, So yeah, it's a pain in the ass. But the point is that NASA's not doing it. The point is that none of the scientific institutions are doing it. None of, like Germany's got 4 million of these little things the government pays for to go do science. None of them are doing these experiments. None. Zero. Zilch. England paid for a bunch of experiments. England paid Faraday. Did they do any of these elemental experiments? Did they drop 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet and see what the real energy is? Again, did they put a thermometer in the ballistic pendulum? They haven't done any of these elemental experiments. It's junk physics. They have a desire to say UFOs exist, but they don't want to look at the photographs too well. So they just say, look at the cigar photo. Yeah, it's a great photo. But they don't really want to analyze it and see, well, if we really do the experiment, we really measure the heat inside the ballistic pendulum, it's not gonna be 2,000 watts. Yeah, it's not gonna add up. All right. If a 1 mass 5v collides with a 5 mass going 1v. So again, the collision argument is I'm saying it's a pushing force. So let's just push them on a lever. Okay, so they're both going to go this way, and they're going to hit the lever. Now, if one of them has twice the energy, we should expect this to happen, right? Okay, what do you think would happen according to conventional theory? The 5 mass 1v would not win anything in that collision. I'm just saying that that's obvious to me, and it's clearly not what they think. So that's the whole argument. They believe otherwise without any experimental evidence. So if we did the tug of war, 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour, 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, and we just got them up to speed, had a rope between them, or steel wire, it's just a 10 mass and a 5 mass. It doesn't have to be trains, obviously. It'd be certainly more spectacular with trains, though, wouldn't it? Obviously, they're saying the 5 mass train going 10 has twice the energy that this one has, so it should obviously pull the whole experiment. Now, we already know that doesn't happen because we know pendulums don't do that. That when they hit, the place of the collision doesn't move with the thing with more energy. It moves with the thing with more momentum. Okay, so let's see. The way momentum is conserved, opposite directions cancel. So there's no opposite direction canceling. So this doesn't happen. There's no experiment with anything canceled. So it's just a lie to sit there and say something canceled. You're claiming, okay, that you can collide a thing, a small mass, a 1 mass with 100 momentum into a 3 mass, and that you can make it go 150. You're claiming it. I'm saying every experiment that claims that is a piece of shit. And I proved it with the Professor Lewin air cart experiment, where I demonstrated there's no way the carts weigh what he claimed. And then when he did the experiment, accidentally, when they were supposed to stick together, and they didn't, they bounced, the numbers came out perfect for what I'm arguing. Perfect. Okay, instead of 150, it was 75. Yeah. So, fuck you. Alright, has been well known and tested since Newton. So, it's just a lie, okay? So, what, you want me to just block you? Link to it. Link to your fucking great test. Because that's exactly my argument. You're fooled by the de Châtelet silly denting clay experiment. You were fooled. Your science was completely fooled by that nonsense experiment. It has no theoretical credibility. Zero. Rolling objects, twice the velocity. It rolls 4 times the distance in friction. Well, friction is the same as gravity. Galileo could have told you, well, of course it goes 4 times as far, but it only took twice. It took twice the time, and it was going 1/2 the velocity 3/4 down the track. So it obviously wasn't proportional friction. The faster you go, the less friction there is. That's the fact. I mean, you jackasses should be able to figure this one out too. I mean, I mean, shit, I shoot something across a cliff, and I have one side, well, here, I'll make one side is a foot higher than the other side, right? Okay, so I'm shooting things to across a gap, and I have a little bit of distance here, so I shoot it straight across, and I shoot it fast enough, no friction at all, right? Yes, so I could have a slope here. Okay, totally misses all of it. No friction, zero friction. All right, and obviously the slower I go, the more likely it is it's going to bang into this surface. Okay, and now there's going to be friction. And the simple truth is that yes, when you go very fast, you're making very little contact. Okay, and you have very little losses to the pins because you're not hitting them. You're not vibrating the ground. So in this whole 3 distance, you lose just as much energy as you lose in this. 1 second here, 1 second here. That's how gravity works, by the way. It's a constant rain, okay? You go through the rain really fast, you don't get very wet. Now, I shouldn't have to make that argument over and over again. I shouldn't have to make it to anybody. Anybody reasonable should say, yeah, well, that makes perfectly good sense. That's exactly how gravity functions, frankly. It's the inverse square law. It's just like a paint sprayer in reverse. There's no counter argument I can make, right? I mean, that's exactly how the bent geodesic works. Okay, it's a convergence. Obviously, if I move through the field in different places, there's a different density of force. And obviously, if I move through something, past it, gravitational body here, and I move past it really quickly, I bend very little. Well, why is that? Why do I bend very little? Well, because I'm in the force very little. Duh. I can't believe I have to do this. I can't believe I have to make an argument that mechanically simple and say, well, go ahead, explain how that doesn't work. Explain how that doesn't match every fucking experiment ever conducted by human beings in the history of human beings. Because yes, it's perfectly consistent. People can slide across thin ice. Oh, you people are just so fucking... You're just so bad. Oh, all right. If you think everyone is wrong and all their experiments are scams, well, I'm just saying that some of their experiments are obviously scams, okay? I mean, denting clay with round objects is a scam, okay? Now, if you penetrate the clay, it's okay. But just surface denting, you can say, okay, obviously the faster object is going to end up, okay, getting the advantage, okay, of pushing clay sideways more than pushing clay down. And so obviously, yes, it can be twice the energy, but it'll have 4 times the displacement because, frankly, it was doing more pushing of clay sideways than it was doing of pushing clay down. So it's a huge advantage. These things can be understood. The burden of proof is on you. So this is the real key argument, right? No, the burden of proof is on the science. All right, you're claiming yours is science. I'm saying let's do the experiments. Okay, I'm saying I'll pay for some of it and I'll pay what I can. But you're saying that I have to do the Eddington experiment, that I have to build a Stern-Gerlach experiment, that I have to build a cyclotron, that I have to build a linear accelerator, that I have... No, I don't have to do any of this. I have to send balloons up into space. I have to do all these experiments. These experiments should have been done by physics. And they should be doing it with their high-speed cameras and with all their bullshit. They have all the tools in the world, and they don't do any of these elemental experiments. So it's just such a pile of crap to say I have the burden of producing the evidence. You have the cameras. You have all the tools. You have all the hardware. You should be doing the fucking experiments. Scumbags. Anyway, I appreciate your use of the balance. Okay, well, you can appreciate all you want. It's decisive evidence. No one is going to draw, okay, the simple experiment and explain it in any rational way because I have already dissected it perfectly. 1 mass, 4 distances. Okay, 4 mass, 1 distance. Perfect balance, okay, perfectly oscillates 100 times, Okay, and all that's happening is a little bit of mass here is switching and a little bit of mass there. It's just switching which side the mass goes, and you can understand perfectly that in the gravity, what's happening. Well, you have a 4 mass going up into gravity, and you have a 1 mass going down in gravity 4 times faster. This one is escaping the rain at 4 times the speed. This one is going into the rain 1 quarter of the speed, with a sail that's 4 times bigger, a mass collecting energy 4 times the size. Perfectly makes sense that these two things perfectly balance in the gravity, that this is in fact, this going up is exactly the same as this going down, and vice versa. It balances perfectly. There is no debunk of the fact that this is telling you explicitly and completely these two things are equal amounts of motion, energy, movement, power. These two things are the same thing. Weight is momentum. Again, how do you evade the simple truth that what? It's weight when I do it this way, and it's momentum when I do it this way? Come on, get real. Alright? It's momentum this way, and it's momentum this way. Gravity causes momentum. Idiots. Ugh. Okay. However, that is stationary and relies on the vertical attraction of the Earth. Doesn't mean anything. And the Earth isn't, there's nothing attraction anyway. It's a physical force. You're pushed into the Earth, jackass. Newsflash. Alright, let's look at the horizontal motion of the mass in the real world. So again, what does that even mean? Nothing. Okay, you're not going to change the experiment any. Okay, I mean, obviously, if you take gravity away, you have to have some equal force applied to the two objects. Now, where are you going to get your equal force from? How can you apply the same force to a 1 mass that you're applying to a 4 mass, okay, if you're not going to use gravity? Duh. Yeah, really. Okay, without friction getting in the way, all kinds of shit getting in the way. The scale makes it so easy. The balance makes the experiment so fucking easy and obvious. Alright, some thoughts. Reference frames are imaginary, and there is no physical effect on any real-world object. So this is just baby talk. You have no evidence for any of this nonsense, okay? All real-world objects, when stationary, have no momentum. So whatever that even means, obviously the whole planet is moving through space. We all have some kind of momentum in some kind of direction. It's just silly to say we're not moving. No kinetic energy. I mean, Newton's bucket experiment proves that, okay? There's no fucking way the whole universe is spinning around us. No kinetic energy. Oh, fuck you. I mean, there's a point where I should just stop reading, right? This is baby talk. Any real-world object, solid object, is moving, must have momentum, duh. Well, this kinetic energy, the two things are in conflict, jackass. So as soon as I take the kinetic energy and I put it in something with a different size volume, that is a different mass, all of a sudden I lose kinetic energy. Or I have to make free momentum. They're not compatible theories, idiot. Okay, the momentum is a linear quantity, so it doesn't mean anything. All motion is linear. All motion is in a direction. So talk more baby talk. The kinetic energy is not linear, says you, with no evidence. Show me non-linear energy. Show me a pile of non-linear energy somewhere in the universe. I mean, even light demonstrates itself to be linear, especially in laser beams. What the fuck are you talking about? You have no evidence of anything that's non-linear. It is directly related to current speed, whatever that. So that's just baby talk, right? There's nothing there. What are you talking about? What current? Oh, that's amazing. The bowling ball has a current? There's no current. All right. To make any real-world object move, then work. Force for a time. There you go. At least you got that part right. Force is about time. How long did you apply a force? How much force for how much time? That's how gravity works, by the way. Must be done on it. Moving objects have a speed and a direction. Duh. We just said the opposite up here. Get a drink. Yeah, I just hate even reading this mush. So the first test is to confirm that the speed of the horizontal moving object is not related directly to the momentum. So what's the point? Some idiot is saying speed isn't momentum, when speed obviously is velocity. You can't have any other energy. Now, obviously, you can have wheels on a cart, right? This is the famous, how come they put the big heavy steel wheels on the little tiny carts to do their linear momentum experiments? Wouldn't you try to make the wheels as irrelevant as possible? Why the fuck would you want to have a bunch of momentum trapped in angular momentum rather than linear momentum? So yeah, that's a real problem. That's why I suggested pendulums. They don't use pendulums, by the way, right? Nobody does the famous make free momentum experiment with a pendulum. Nobody, no physicist has ever done that. Now, Dispar Lab says he's somehow proven it, but I'm just saying they don't do it because I don't think they know. I think they know full well that if they do it with any kind of technical precision, it's going to be found to be a pile of shit. All right. But is related to kinetic energy in the world. See it worked out. Oh, fuck you. Go look at your mother and see how fucking ugly she is. Oh, you're such a jackass. Fucking these arrogant turds. Look at all this. He typed a bunch of this crap. He hasn't said a fucking thing yet. You can't use a measuring device. So yeah, don't use a scale to measure something's weight. No, let's find some other way to do it. Fuck you. Anyway, we need a reliable test. Yeah, again, the balance is as simple and as reliable as you can get. You're saying it's unreliable. Well, prove it. Show where the unreliability is in it. Show where the balance I had oscillating 100 times on my porch was an invalid experiment. I have a one mass going 4 times the velocity, okay, as a 4 mass going 1 velocity in an oscillator. And it oscillates for 100 times, which means it's clearly a very even oscillator. It's not losing any energy. So it must be it must be quite symmetrical. So what's your fucking argument? Why is it a bad experiment? Oh yeah, you didn't explain that part. Anyway, a test that we can do with a means of doing work and a means of measuring the speed. No, all you gotta do is stick a thermometer in the motherfucking ballistic pendulum. You know how much mass is in it, right? You take its temperature before the bullet goes in. You know how much mass it is, right? So you have a temperature. Now you're gonna raise the clay to a certain temperature. Now we know exactly how much energy it takes to raise a gallon of water 1 degree. We also can find out exactly how much energy it takes to raise the temperature of the clay 1 degree. And then just do the fucking experiment. Prove you have thousands of joules of heat inside the ballistic pendulum. Prove it! Anyway, can do it with a means of doing work and a means of measuring speed and moving objects. Oh, this is just baby. It just goes on and on. Typing this mush. Thought experiment. Imagine an air track used in college. Yeah, I've already explained to you how air tracks have a fundamental flaw in the sense that they're introducing energy in the form of a bunch of air moving. And the problem is that air doesn't move evenly. So if I tilt it a little, you can see that in those British, things, those floating devices they fluff around in. You get them a little bit out of balance and all of a sudden it's a jet engine. All of a sudden you're shooting a lot more air out one side than you are the other side. So they're not all that. Now I'm not saying they haven't made air tracks that are really good, okay, because they are well balanced, the weights are heavy. There's a lot of engineering went into making them precise. Harvard has a really good one. But Harvard won't do any experiments with it. There's not a single video of them doing anything with it, except showing you how it works. Look, the cart goes back and forth. That's it. That's what they showed you. All right. I have a standard mass and spring given impulse. I mean, fuck you. We've been doing this for 10 years now, 2 years explicitly on this subject, and you're showing up with this nonsense? Yeah, so fuck this. I'm done. Yeah, this is, fuck you. All right. And then you have posted another comment. Shit. All right, given my previous comment, which you can go fucking shove up your ass, you patronizing, arrogant motherfucker who hasn't paid any goddamn attention to the fact that there's only a fucking 2,000 or 3,000 videos on this fucking channel. Okay, if you had your lever moving at a constant speed, you would find that the spring, there's no spring in the fucking goddamn balance I was describing, but whatever. And the resulting motion when you move the lever with the same amount of wonk would not agree with the stationary lever. Why? This is just nonsense again. The kinetic energy is related to what we know as inertia. There's nothing about any theory of inertia that says anything about it being harder to push lighter things. Okay? So you can't use some argument about inertia. Okay, because inertia just means that things are hard to move proportional to their mass. And it's proportional to their mass, not quadratic to their mass. So this is a bullshit argument. All right, clue, F equals ma. Fuck you. All right, you're blocked. Okay, I'm not even going to read this horse shit. I don't have to take this crap from you motherfuckers. F equals ma is not Newton's formula, okay? That's exactly the fucking goddamn problem, all right? There's no such thing as F equals ma, okay? There's F equals momentum. That's motherfucking Newton's formula, fuckhead. All right. Fuck that shit. Ugh, God, you people are just such pieces of dirt. So one of you motherfuckers, one of you lying sacks of dirty, smelly, fucking goddamn shit, draw a fucking goddamn balance, okay? Draw the balance I did, okay? Nice little round steel bar suspended from a little wire, okay? So it has lots of freedom of motion, very small fulcrum, very small energy losses. All right, magnets, so the weights are always pointed down, okay, so they're never rotating. All right, so one mass over here going 4V, all right, 4 mass here going 1V. Oscillates perfectly. Put a little bit of energy in, and when you're putting a little bit of energy in, all you're really doing, the only thing you're really changing, because again, the gravity is going to be exactly the same. The rain is coming down this way. I push this object down. It goes slowly, okay, away from the rain. This one's going quickly into the rain, but it's only a 1 mass. So the thing's perfectly equal. The amount of extra rain this encounters is going to be exactly the same as the amount of rain this one evades. So the two are perfectly balanced in the gravity. And all that you're really doing is moving a bit of the lever from one side to the other. And it shows that it's a very weak force because it oscillates very slowly and oscillates very long, because there's no friction. So go ahead and explain the lever. Explain the balance. Explain how the balance is lying. That there actually is 4 times the energy. Over here, there's 400 watts of energy on this side, and there's only 100 watts of energy on that side. Explain how that's possible. You pieces of shit. Hate this planet. The only thing good about this is, if there's enough civilization left when you learn the truth, this should make a great movie. Because it's better than all of these other physics stories about, how the guy had it and somebody else stole it and he had it and he committed suicide, or he was homosexual and they persecuted him, or it's better than all those stories. that I sat here and showed you this clear, easy picture of reality. This simple goddamn fucking mechanism. There's just forces moving the speed of light. The matter is pushed around by the forces. Really simple. Fucking goddamn rain analogies. Paint sprayer analogies. No fucking almost no math. And you just belligerently argued against it, okay? Not because it doesn't fit, not because it doesn't work, not because it doesn't answer any question you want to ask, that's within the realm of reason. It's not going to explain where electrons came from, but it's going to do just about everything else. I even provided a simulation that just showed how charge is easy to explain. 2 plus 2 plus 2 physics. 2 kinds of force, 2 kinds of matter, 2 kinds of interaction. Something reflects, something absorbs. You can't even understand that the universe could be that simple, that energy either reflects or absorbs. If it's absorbed, it's stuck, it's in it, it moves with it. Electrons are in a world where they're just being pushed. When they absorb light, they move. When they reflect light, they don't. God damn, you people are just so fucking stupid. And the reflection is basically like us in gravity. The gravity pushes us down, the earth has to push us back. The reflection is the pushback, because the energy doesn't have anywhere to go. There's nowhere to put the extra energy. People are just so fucking stupid. I mean, so many examples I've got. I just thought of the ball bearing bouncing on top of the anvil. And the fact is that guy, made them out of just the right materials, and he actually has it bouncing 200 fucking times. And you're saying that with each bounce, twice the energy went into the anvil. So you start with, 100 momentums, and with 200 bounces, obviously it starts diminishing in how much energy it has. It bounces get smaller and smaller. But, you believe that somehow the anvil has absorbed 2,000, watts of energy. You put 100 in, you get 2,000 or 20,000 out. How can you believe that crap? Shit. I mean, I showed you Newton's cradle. You know what happens, okay? I dropped one object, 100 momentums in, kind of thing. I get 100 out. And somehow you're saying if I just glue these fuckers together, I can get 150 out. I can do exactly the same thing. I put 100 in, I'll get 150 out. You think the physical universe allows that to happen? Amazing. And you're not at all curious if that is actually the truth, that no one has ever thought to put a 1 mass, then a 3 mass, then a 9 mass, then a 26 mass or 36 mass or whatever, and just keep increasing the amount of momentum. So you could just go like this, boink, and you could knock down the Empire State Building. You think that really happens?